Hello there, my name is Diana, and you are watching yet another C++ beginner guide. But unlike other teachers, I'm not some super professional senior developer with 30 years of experience. I'm going to learn coding with you. So I'll try to do my best to provide you with the most detailed and beginner-friendly explanations of all fundamental C++ concepts. In these introductory lessons, we are going to start with setting up our development environment, and then we are going to write our very first C++ program. And if you think it will be Hello World, you're right. To start our coding journey, we need two essential tools, a compiler and integrated development environment, or IDE for short. So what's the difference between them? A compiler is basically your code translator that turns your C++ code to executable machine code that computer can understand. Add all necessary packages to your code, check it for errors, optimize it, and then translate it for computer. There are many C++ compilers available, but as a beginner coder, you shouldn't worry that much about which one to choose. And moreover, many compilers, they go in bundle with IDE. So when you install your IDE, just pick the default compiler. An IDE looks like an ordinary text editor where you can write code, but it does much more. It helps you to fix errors, it allows you to test your code, debug it, and also it gives you very valuable tips how to make your code cleaner and more optimized. If you don't want to spend any time installing some software, you can use online C++ compiler. So to use online compiler, just go to the Google or any other search engine and type online C++ compiler, and you can see a bunch of websites where you can select the compiler. I don't know which one is better, so let's pick maybe this one compiler. And you can see here we have some text editor where we can write our program, the button run, and some space where we can see the output. But if you want to be able to store your programs on your computer, revisit it, maybe rewrite something later, of course it's better to install something. There are many nice IDE for C++ on the market, such as Visual Studio, CLion, Qt Creator, Eclipse, and so on. But I think that for beginners it's better to use some program not overloaded with functionality. So now we are going to install CodeBlocks together. So once again, open Google or any other search engine and type something like CodeBlocks download. And you can see that the very first link is the link to the website where we can download CodeBlocks. We need binary release, it will be the easiest one to install. And then select your operational system. I will select Windows. I don't think that the installation process for Mac is very different. And if you use Linux, I don't think you need my help for installation. So let's check Windows, Microsoft Windows, and you can see here a bunch of releases. And we need the one called CodeBlocks min GW setup. It's actually the one that has included compiler. All other setups that don't have this min.gv, they don't include compiler, so it's for those users who want to connect their own compiler for C++ they already have. We are not this type of the user, so let's pick this one, CodeBlocks min.gv setup. Here you can see the note below that it's exactly the builds that include compiler. So I'm going to follow the link on the sourceforge.net, and shortly the download will start. So I need to wait for a little bit, and then we are going to install it together. Okay, now I downloaded the CodeBlocks, so let's install it together. Basically, installation of this program is very intuitive and simple. You just press next and agree with everything and check everything they propose you to install. Split next, and of course here you can modify the place where you want to install it, but I don't want it, so let's just press the button install and wait for our installation to finish and run our CodeBlocks program. So now when installation is finished, let's run our CodeBlocks. And you can see that automatically detect the available compiler that was bundled with our IDE. We are going to use it as a default one and finish our installation. Okay, it asked me if I want to use it as a default. I don't know, I will think about it later. Now let's leave everything as it is. So now when we have our IDE installed, let's create our very first project and write our very first C++ program. For this purpose, you can click here on the icon Create New Project, or alternatively, you can go to Menu File, New, and pick here New Project. You can see here different types of projects. We are going to select the console application and press Go. Basically everything is very intuitive. You just press Next, select C++ language, that's the one we need. And here we are going to select our project title. It's always nice to think about your project organization to keep it clean and obvious for you where you store everything. So I will just name my project Introduction, and I will go into create new folder for all the code we are going to write in this course, C++ course. I will name my folder in this way, select it, and then press next. And here we basically leave everything as a default, our default compiler, debug configuration, release configuration, and just press button finish. And you can see in the window with project we have our project introduction and the folder resources. If you click on it, you will see here the file which has type CPP, where you can already see some code. So that's the feature of code blocks. It greets us with the code of classic Hello World program. So when you see Hello World program for the first time on C++, you might be very confused. Why so many lines? Because I would expect to see some one-liner, just print hello world and that's it, like Python. But the thing is that C++ is highly flexible and functional language, and of course it wasn't created to just write one liner to console. But still we are going to break down our program line by line and explain what every line of this code does. But first I want to check if my program is actually working. For this purpose I need to first build my program and then I need to run it. So here you can see the menu build. So let's press the button build. And you can see that our program is successfully built. So what's going on when we build our program? So basically when we build our program, we check it for errors, compile it with compiler, so translate to the executable code for our computer. And if everything is okay, now we can try to run our program. For this purpose, once again, you can check the menu build and select button run, or you can press the button run on the menu panel and you can see the result. We have the line in our console, hello world. Now let's break down this program line by line. So the first line of our program says include IOStream. C++ language has multiple libraries with different functionality, and of course it's smart to include those libraries that you need for your particular project. For example, here I want to create the output stream to the console, so I need the library that provides me with this functionality, and this is exactly library IOStream. Include is a preprocessor directive that tells our compiler to put the code of IOStream library here, so I can use input and output stream. If I don't include this library, now my program doesn't know how to create input and output stream, how to write to the console. So if I try to build our program without library, you can see we've got error. Our program doesn't know what is cout because it's actually declared in the IOStream library. So let's return our IOStream library and move to the next line of our code using namespace std. Standard namespace define the words that are reserved for particular functions and object in C++. So let's now remove this line using namespace std and try to build our program again and see what happens. And you can see that once again we have this error that cout is not declared in the scope. It's because in the standard namespace it's actually defined that this word cout, it's not some random word, it's a word reserved for the start of the console output. And now when I remove this namespace, our compiler doesn't know what is cout. Maybe it's some random collection of symbols I type. Some programmers don't like to include this standard namespace in the code. They think it's a bad practice for many reasons, and they prefer to call for the standard namespace directly in the code. For this purpose, if you don't want to use namespace std, just type std and colon, and the same is for the end line, because this word is also reserved in the standard namespace. And now if I try to build my program again, you can see that it's built successfully. But once again, if you want to avoid calling for standard namespace every time, you can just include namespace std. And since we are beginner programmers, it's a nice practice for us just not to think about the namespaces right now. The next line of our code is int main. Main is a main function. It's the entry point of our C++ program. Any program project, they will have main function, and the very first line of the main function is the entry point of your program. So here you can see that the very first line that will be executed actually in this code is line 7, cout hello world, end line. Cout is a word reserved for the start of the console output, and everything we want to send to the output stream is bracketed with this less sign. So we're going to send this string hello world, but you can see that at the end of our hello world string we have one more output. It's some object called endline. Endline is actually object that stands for the endline character. So if I want, for example, to modify my program and add more lines of the code, let's add the line how are you. And one more important thing, that at the end of every line, at the end of every statement, you can put semicolons, so C++ will understand that it's the end of this statement. So now if I try run my program, you can see nothing happened. I still have hello world because I haven't built my program yet. So let's build it. And now we have all our changes applied, and we can run our program again. And you can see the result in the console. The first row hello world. Then because we have the end line symbol, we actually go to the next line, and on the next line we print how are you. If, for example, I decide to remove the end line and I will build my code and run it again, you can see the result because I don't have the end line symbol, so I don't create the new line. I will have now just two lines together. Hello world, how are you? Well, I can actually simplify this code. I can add here space after hello world. Of course, I can connect these two strings together. And let's add end line once again. And if you don't want to press two buttons every time, like first build your program, then run your program, you are sure that everything is correct, there's the third button called build and run, and you can see the result of this program execution is hello world, my first string, and then it's connected to the second string, and end line symbol creates the new line. The last line we haven't discussed yet is the line return 0. It's an exit point of our program, and when we reached return 0 line, it means that our program is successfully executed and finished. So once again, when I run our program, it executes the first line, hello world, how are you? And then it reaches the line return 0 that says that, okay, our program is successfully finished. So we're getting this message in our console that process returned 0, so everything is okay. And we executed our program for 0.004 seconds. Okay, now I have home assignment for you. Select the poem you like, something short, maybe 4 lines, and create a console application that will write your poem. I'm going to wait for your programs in the comment section, and see you in the next lesson.